Welcome, everybody. It's good to finally see you face to face. I've engaged with you online in Moodle thus far, and congratulations to those of you that have gone ahead and done the scavenger hunt and a couple other activities for week one. Um, that's a great start to our study of CCRS. Okay, so the very first thing that we want to think about is where we are in this moment with CCRS. And so we're going to have a poll that's going to show up, and we'd like you to choose the animal that represents how you feel about implementing CCRS in your classroom at this moment. Okay, which animal reflects the way you feel about implementing the CCRS in your classroom? Okay, I think is that all of us? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, almost everything except the mouse. Okay. Okay, would anyone, since we're a small group, we can do this with microphones. Would anyone like to volunteer why they chose the animal that they did? Okay, Kehan?
I picked the bird. I was gonna pick the mouse actually, but I ended up picking the bird.
Yeah.
Because hopefully I could be flying, but I'm more of a penguin. I'm on the floor and I'm very new to this. So yeah, hopefully I'll be flying soon as I get more experience.
Well said. Well said. Thank you. Anyone else?
I'll quickly share. I chose a cow just because I still think I'm moving kind of slow and I'm not free like a bird and able to fly on my own.
Okay, all right. Well said. Well said.
Uh,
Um,
I chose a dog because I'm just barking at it.
okay, good
I
choice. Good
I
choice.
honestly, being a veteran and just getting back into the swing of things, I chose the monkey because
Uh,
I feel like that's my life. I feel like I constantly have to be entertaining and bopping everywhere, but I was in between the dog and the monkey because
mhm.
you have to be a dog in there sometimes. But be goofy at the same time with all of these things if you want to connect any of these
Yeah.
standards to any of
Yeah.
your students. You have to meet all of those animals at any given moment.
That's a good way to look at it.
It's true, especially I work with developmentally disabled adults, so
Okay.
that's definitely the case. That
Yeah.
describes my classroom right there.
So you've got a wide variety of skills that you have to meet. Yeah,
Yes, absolutely. And
definitely.
thank you
Oh,
guys for having these courses. I really enjoy them.
oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome. Well, when I first started doing CCRS, I chose a dog, and I chose a dog because I kind of thought that I needed to a dog. I've always raised big dogs, and they're always chasing squirrels, and sometimes trying to chase more than one squirrel at the same time. And so I chose the dog because I thought that I needed to learn how to be a little more disciplined dog and learn how to focus a little bit better on what I was trying to get to. So it's interesting to make that connection. Um, Thank you all for participating in the poll. Good information. Okay, and there you can see. We have everything but the mouse. Well, let's talk about implementing the CCRS, which is an ongoing process. If you've not used them before, it takes some time to become familiar with them. And this webinar is intending to help you with your understanding of the CCRS so that you'll be able to implement them more effectively into your teaching. And you may even realize that you have been using them all along and you just didn't know what they were called And now you are ready to take it up a notch by consciously identifying which standards, under what circumstances you're using, and what that looks like in your classroom. So welcome again, and don't hesitate to ask questions as we go along. Since we're a small group, you can raise your hand, and we can use the mics, or you can use the chat box if you're more comfortable with that. Okay. But we want to address that there are 3 shifts, and yes, Adria.
I am just raising my hand. We had a little technical glitch and missed the first poll that's listed here, which was just a quick one about your program areas. Can we go ahead
Oh,
and run
that's
that first
right.
poll? And then we'll go on and
Okay.
talk about those 3
You
shifts.
bet.
Thank
You
you.
bet. You bet. Okay. A, B, E, A, C, H, I, C. Okay. CTE. Oh, good. All right. So we have all of the areas covered in our poll. Okay.
Thanks, everyone. That's useful
Yes,
information for us and interesting. Good to know not only who's in the course, but who's in the room today.
exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly. Okay, so that's good. That's a good. I always like it when there is a wide variety of representation of the different programs because it just makes for more interesting conversations. So thanks, Adria, for bringing up that poll for us. Okay, so we can go back to targeting the CCRS and what we're doing there. There have been 3 shifts, educational shifts, as of late. And that's where the CCRS comes into helping us adapt to those shifts. The first one is complexity of material. The second one is more and better evidence-based reading and writing, as well as knowledge-based learning, because we really need to focus on critical thinking skills, critical reading skills, and critical creation skills. The CCRS is a very important topic to discuss. It provides us a very concrete way of taking our teaching to another level. So today we want to cover a few things in relationship to the CCRS. I want to answer any questions that you have so far. We will use a common language to talk about the college and career readiness standards. We'll learn to unpack them so you can understand their components. And we will practice adding additional strong, effective activities to sample lesson plans that you can download from the chat box. Okay. So you can also download the CCRS, which some of you did to do the scavenger hunt, and then you have all the information that you need in order to learn more about the CCRS. And so I would like to do a quick quiz at the moment, and if you could respond to 4 questions that'll show up in the poll as to how they are put together, okay? You'll see all 4 questions. How many CCRS strands are there, and the level groupings. Can you see this poll? Okay, I'm not seeing any responses in the poll. There we go. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, so in looking at the CCRS strands, okay, let's see. Okay, the correct response here is that there are 4 strands. We have reading, writing, language, speaking, and listening. But for ESL students or ESL teachers in particular, we want to be aware that there are reading foundational skills that are included in the CCRS that do align with the Common Core and also the English language proficiency standards. Okay, so there's 4 strands. And there are how many groupings? Spot on, there are five. Five groupings, A through E. Okay. And each level deals with specific skills, so that allows you to scaffold your lessons over time. The anchor standards themselves go across all levels. You probably noticed that when you looked in the book. So you have a general standard, and then within each level grouping, you have specific skills that would be appropriate for that level. And that's one of the things that makes the CCRS really nice to use. And with the ESL component, you have in the beginning, the ESL classes would use levels A, B, and C. Okay. But within level A, you actually have 3 levels of ESL. You have the beginning literacy, the low beginning, and the high beginning. And so it's not that you have to accomplish all of the tasks in all of the levels, in all of the standards. It allows us to pick and choose what goes along with our goals and objectives for our class, and we can select exactly what it is we want to focus on. Okay, good job. If you haven't had a chance to um, look at the standards in detail, it would be a good idea for you to try and get to that this week. Maybe pick one area that you want to focus on, whether it's reading, writing, or language skills if you're working with a lower level students, and get a grasp of how they are organized, because that makes a big difference in how you use them going forward. Okay. All right. So now we want to take a look at using specific standards to improve student learning. What's your thoughts at this point in time in using clear, specific standards to improve student learning? Why do we need to bother using standards? What do you think? Since they're small group, we can do Mike, or you can put in the chat box. Anybody?
It gives them a point of what you're supposed to learn. It's the outcome of what you're supposed to learn in each lesson that you're taught. It's like backwards chaining. So
Okay.
you take what you want them to learn, do the lesson, build the unit, all that kind of stuff, and then hopefully all of that will meet your standard if you did it right, and
Yeah.
then some. So that's kind
Okay.
of how, and it just makes it very clear for the teacher and the student what they're trying to achieve in the class and how they align with how it's going to be practical in their real life, in the real world of their jobs.
Yeah, you make an excellent point, Danielle, because we do work with adult students, and we've got to be able to connect what we're trying to teach them with their real life experiences. It's much more beneficial for them in order to be successful out there in the world. I came to view the CCRS as an approach to working smart instead of working hard, with targeting a particular goal that you want to accomplish, using the CCRS as the starting point, and then using backward design to plan the lesson. Then, like you said, you get where you get if you don't get where exactly where you want to be, you get closer, and then you fine tune and you adapt and you move on from there. Okay. So in order to do that, in order to use the CCRS, we want to be able to unpack the standards. And so there's components in the standards that often relate to particular parts of speech. You can see in the standard where there are specific skills, and those skills are defined by the verbs that are used in the standard. And then we're looking at what we're going to be doing with those particular verbs, those particular actions that we want the students to accomplish. And finally, we're going to take a look at the prepositional phrases, because that's where the context, that's where it's happening, where the learning is happening. So our skills are identified by the verbs that are used in the standard, and it gives us an additional information about the concept of what we're actually going to be doing, and in what context are we going to be doing this. And we can look at an example to see how that works. This is the reading standard, and this is level A of reading standard number 1. And in level A, we were going to ask and answer questions about key details in a text. So our skills are the verbs, which is ask and answer. And what are we going to ask and answer? We're going to ask questions, and we're going to find key details in a text. And so this gives you a good example of what you're looking for, as you can actually parse the anchor standards and figure out exactly what skills am I asking my students to accomplish. So what do you think is the value of unpacking the standards? Any comments? Why bother to unpack it? Why bother to identify the skills, the context, and the concepts in a standard? How does that help? Anybody want to comment?
I'm a dinosaur with writing, so it's easier for me to just say, I think that when you unpack the standard and you know those verbs, then you can figure out your skill level, how hard you need to make things, and the scaffolding process of how to build your lesson to meet all of your learners. But the standard is so basic that it leaves all of those things, the skills, complexity, all those scaffolding, all those things that you're mentioning. It just leaves a lot of openness for levels of teaching in your classroom, for me at least.
Yes, yes, I think you make a very good point. Also, moving from the whole to the parts, getting down to the basics, and identifying exactly what it is that you want students to be able to accomplish. Okay, thank you for your responses. Finally found my chat box. It's been a challenging technological day. Unpacking the standards helps teachers really understand what the standard is asking students to do. Yes, it breaks it down into smaller activities. Thank you, Kehan. In order to employ the CCRS, we want to be sure that we have strong and effective lesson elements. In your estimation, what makes a strong, effective objective?
You can measure it once
Sure.
you apply.
Yeah.
And for me, with my classes, I do daily objectives
Mm-hmm.
so that we know what we're doing on the on that day, and then there's a larger goal, but the objectives get us there. So and we can see them, because if we don't achieve, then we can redo, or
Yeah.
I can repackage, quote
Yeah.
unquote.
I like that. Repackage. Yeah. Yeah. Using SMART goals is a very good way to get going with the CCRS, so that you can focus in on specific things. I do that. I put them on the board and I check them off. Once we get them accomplished, I check them off. If we don't, like you said, a repackage or revisit if we don't accomplish what we want there. So that brings us to noticing that the goals that you were mentioning are student-centered, relevant goals to what they want to accomplish, appropriate to their level so they can actually be successful in those goals. We want them clear, simple, student-friendly language. And if we understand the concept of the CCRS, if we understand that piece of it, then we can actually translate that into um, clear, simple language for their students. And we want them observable and measurable. So those are how we have strong, effective objectives. What kind of practices do we associate with that? Contextualize for student interest and authentic usage. We want, again, student-oriented, real-world performance-oriented tasks. And scaffolded, as you mentioned, to build on prior knowledge and lessons and increasing skill as we go along. And finally, sequenced from lots of teacher modeling to lots of student control so that we can get our students to be that in that category of independent learners. So we want to move to a breakout room activity. Maria posted the handouts. Hopefully you did download them and have access to them. You'll want to select one lesson sample. We have an ESL lesson, an ABE lesson, and an ASE lesson. And what we're going to do is we're going to practice revising. You'll select one lesson to review. You'll work in a breakout room with a group, and we want you to suggest an additional objective and instructional activity for your chosen lesson. This is to reinforce that we're not introducing CCRS to have you start all over again. Use what you have, okay? Start with the lessons that you have, take a look at them and say, oh, gee, I could do this. I could add something to this. I could change this a little bit, and I would be meeting this objective. Okay, so this is a sample time for you to do that. So you'll skim the lesson with your group. You'll identify the lesson segment where you'd like to add an activity, and hint, hint, we looked at presentation practice. Those would be easy ones to work with for today's activity. And then review the lesson objective, revise it, or add an additional objective if it's needed. Do a quick outline of the new activity and prepare to share it out in our group. So, how do we want to, with 4 people, how many people do we have?
And we've got one more joining right now
Oh,
who's
good.
Aileen. And so let's see.
Okay.
But yeah, it looks like we have 8 participants in the room, I believe. We don't,
Okay.
and it seems, DeAnne, like we probably don't need to be necessarily in even groups. It's just more important that everyone gets to just choose the lesson plan
Sure.
that they'd like to
Okay.
work with. So I think Maria has the room set up so that you can just self-select. And once we open those, you'll see a little menu pop up where you'll be able
Uh-huh.
to choose join the ESL room
Yeah.
because it's an ESL lesson, join the
Mm-hmm.
HSE or join the ASE based on the lesson. And we
Okay.
can always come in and help. We can check on you or help move people around if need be, but we'll give you a chance to just select the lesson that makes the most sense for what's
Okay.
relevant to you. Does that sound
Works
right?
for me. Works for me. Absolutely. Okay.
Alrighty. Before I open up, is 10 minutes still okay on that?
I think let's do 12 minutes.
12 minutes. You got
That extra 2 minutes might matter.
it. Alrighty. So I'm going to open those. So everyone, if you don't see that window pop up automatically for you, you can, on your toolbar in Zoom, you can click breakout.
Welcome back, everyone. We hope that was a good and fruitful conversation, and I'll let DeAnne was out in one of the rooms, so I want to give her a chance to find her mic again and settle back in, and then I'll turn things back over to her. Thank you.
Okay, so we had three groups, ESL, ABE, and I worked with Morena in the ASE lesson. Um, ESL group, what did you decide you wanted to do?
Hi, this is Rebecca with the ESL group. Can you
Mhm.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so we were referencing the handout and we were looking at the sequencing, and we determined that we would really like to introduce the idea of a rubric to students and what that would entail during the practice before the evaluation. Specifically, a rubric that the level could understand, depending on which level it is, a multi-level class, it could be modified. But we would have another piece written that we would know what the strengths and development areas of that piece would be, and we would walk students through that evaluation with that rubric. And we'd like to design a rubric that is student-friendly from the outset, but it's also something that could be definitely repeated and revisited throughout the semester, and it gives them some familiarity that they can attach meaning to. But essentially, we'd love to have them work through that rubric with us, especially before doing any peer editing or anything like that. And then make sure that they understand what the elements of an effectively written piece are before we have them move into the evaluation and the final draft portion of that. So basically, our objective would be to familiarize or introduce students to the rubric and discuss the elements of effective writing, and the activity would be the insertion of that rubric and that mentor text, and allowing for a discussion with that.
That's an excellent point that you make. I think that knowing, we all like to know what it is we're expected to do before we have to do it. And so I think that introducing the rubric is an excellent, excellent idea. How about the ABE group? What did you guys decide to do?
I,
Well,
oh,
go for it, Ian.
okay, yeah, I don't think we came to like an actual consensus, but
Uh-huh.
we talked about a couple things about, making sure we set up a good environment for learning, to make it a safe space in the warm up. We also discussed, maybe in the presentation, they gave 4 to 6 guidelines of these verbal statements that you're supposed to make, that maybe we're doing like addition by subtraction by actually making it less by having 2 to 4. Because some of sometimes students in ABE don't know what opinion means. And so not to go off track and keep things a little bit simple, was to make sure that we used language that was easy for them to understand. Students also don't necessarily like to share negative opinions. So any kind of negative statements in the beginning should stick to the positive side first. And then when they feel comfortable, then they can give the negative side or the disagreement. Um, yeah, that's what we talked about. It was a quick 12 minutes.
Yes, it is. It definitely was. That's an excellent idea to have students, you know, to keep parsing down to where they grasp what you want them to in order to then continue with your scaffolding. Excellent idea. Marina, what did you decide about the ASE lesson?
What you helped me with, and looking at my thinking on my class, uh, I will modify the activity on actually starting with the definition of the word. What do we mean by society? And then go from there and start after we all agree on what the proper definition would be for the term, then start looking at how to work with the activity. And the one that we have is imagine the okay, studying the meaning groups and then select one of the groups to belong to. And having more introduction on the topic before going into the activity. That's what will
I
do.
think I think that's an excellent approach there because if the students don't understand the vocabulary, then being participating in an activity is going to be very difficult for them.
Correct. Yeah.
I would like to thank you all for such incredibly thoughtful responses. Um, the whole idea of this practice was to realize that you can take a look at what you're already doing in your classes, and it's amazing how you can look at it. You probably already do this. You tweak it when you do a lesson, perhaps something doesn't go exactly as you wanted it to go, or you find out some new information about your students as you're doing the lesson. And we're doing this anyway. When we align it with uh, the CCRS, okay, and stick to our backward planning, then we can be even more successful with our students and assist them. If we provide the rubrics for them, we could assist them in accomplishing the goals as well. Yes.
Dan, I just wanted to add in our lesson, we were doing on Golden Pond.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really important that you make your lessons relevant to your population of what you're teaching. I mean, On Golden Pond is a great film, but it's important that the I think it's important that the things that you use are connected to your students. Like we were in our group, they'd never seen that. Whereas we were talking about if you use Transformers or the Notebook or something in more current times than
Mm-hmm.
on Golden Pond.
Mm-hmm.
That's I think my me and my mom will watch that on the cruise next week. That's just it's not relevant to today's time, because I think that's really important in your lessons to make sure that your stuff is current and it's relevant to the population you're teaching.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would agree with you because I've discovered the same thing myself, that even from last year, some of the readings that I used last year are less relevant than they were last year. And so it's that constant changing it up. But that's where the CCS are really beautiful because you don't have to change the objectives. You simply change the material. And I think that that really, again, allows us to work smarter in terms of doing what we need to do to get students, to help students become successful. Any other last minute comments? We have about 3 minutes left for any last minute. Okay. Really good job. Really good job. In the 12 minutes, yeah, I would prefer to do this activity with 30 minutes. We'll see about that going forward. Okay, so let me see if I can actually change my slides here. Ta-da! Okay, so here we are back again with our animal farm. Um, and what I'd like you to do is choose the animal that represents how you feel now about implementing CCRS in your classroom. And after working in today's webinar, I feel like a blank because, okay. All right, let me get the chat open here. Okay, so it looks like, well, if my eyes are not failing me, I think we have about the same um, spread as we did last time. Still no mouse. Yeah, a monkey, a couple cows, a couple birds, and several dogs. Okay. So if you could complete the sentence frame after working in today's webinar, I feel like a blank because technological glitches aside, I hope that that did not ruin your experience this afternoon. My apologies. Hey, Maria's chasing. She's barking. Okay. Ah, you can follow the directions better. That's what happened to me with CCRS. I started out as a dog and then I got more disciplined and I was still a dog, but I got more disciplined. Okay, moving. Kaylon is moving to a chicken because I fly a couple seconds with more confidence. I feel like a bird because I've left the nest, starting to get going. Rebecca, thank you for your comments. All right. Any other comments? Okay, a dog. Oops. All right. A cow, Marina, because I'm seeing that no matter how much I know, how much I learn, I implement it in my class. Okay. We never know it all. Never know it all. You know, need to move more, reflect. Okay. Yes, reflection is really important. I'm always asking my students, so what did you gain today? And that's what I would like to ask you as well. Okay. What did you like about the activity? If someone could comment, and what would have made the activity better? Let's do that. Okay. If you have a couple comments there. Yeah. Yeah, you have to reflect every single day. What would have made this activity better? What worked okay for you? And you can use your microphones or chat box. Focusing more time to talk, okay? Any other comments? Okay, you like the grouping within the subject. Okay, that's good to know. You wanted more time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good collaboration time, interaction. Okay, more time, preparation would be better. Okay. Okay, giving insight from other instructors. Okay, those are all really good comments. Okay. Yeah, the time is always a thing. So appreciate your comments on that. I'm glad you like the breaking out into the different disciplines. Cows ruminate, right? That's it, yeah.
I liked your animals, if I may add.
Oh, thanks. Good idea. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think they do actually work very well. Yeah.
Yeah, I use them I teach adults, but I use them for emo check, and they love the animals too. At first, I thought it would be simplistic, but something about it becomes very warming to them. So,
That's good to know. That's good to know. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay. All right, we're a couple minutes over. I apologize for that, but let's go ahead and take a look at what we are doing in the weeks to come. Um, be sure to preview weeks 2 and 3, your materials collection, and we want to be sure to uh, look at week 2 tasks. There's only one task in week 2, and thus far, if you haven't done the introduction, scavenger hunt, and another small task. Take a look and try and stay with the week where the work is assigned in Moodle, and that way it won't all collect for you at the end of the time. Week 3, you want to get started on. In week 3, in our second webinar, we're going to talk about web's depth of knowledge and tie it to the college and career readiness standards, and hopefully have technological issues resolved at that point in time. So I appreciate your extra three minutes here. Any questions, comments, concerns, clarifications before we close out for today? Anything?
Just a quick question. Is the second webinar listed on the site? It is, right? The date?
Yes, it is, and it's also listed right here.
Oh, thank you.
Webinar 2 will be Wednesday, February 18th from 1 to 2 o'clock. Okay. And I look forward to seeing you again. And like I said before, we hope to get the technological issues resolved. I appreciate your patience and understanding and your going with the flow today very much. It's delightful to meet all of you, and I look forward to working with you in Moodle.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here, everyone. And thanks to DeAnne for great leadership today. We appreciate all of you, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Take good care.
Take good care. Be safe, be well, and be aware.